David Foster's been called maestro to the stars. He wears a lot of labels. He's a musician, record producer, songwriter, composer, and arranger. He's collaborated with some of the greatest superstars in music. His friends in the music industry know him as the Hitman. Somehow, everything he touches turns to gold or platinum, and he knows how to spot talent that audiences love. He's discovered and worked with some of the music industry's greatest singers, including Celine Dion, Michael Bublé, Josh Groban, Andre Bocelli, and so many more.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Foster.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. What you think I love you, but I need you. To be real now. Yeah. I think millions of people are gonna love this.
David's won 16 Grammy Awards, including 3 for Producer of the Year, an Emmy Award, and has had 3 Oscar nominations for Best Original Song. David Foster joins us now. Welcome to Full Frame.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
What's it like looking at all that?
Well, I've seen it all before. So, you know, it sort of plays up. Yeah, it plays up here in my head all the time.
But you did say, wow, Boz Scaggs, why?
Yeah, well, Boz in particular was a great little story, personal story, because we wrote this beautiful song called Love, Look What You've Done to Me for the movie Urban Cowboy. But when we got together to write, it was in my little writing room in the Valley, and he just sat there with his pencil for, it seemed like 3 hours, literally an hour or two. And I would play, and I was trying to impress him, and nothing. And then I came up with that intro to Look What You've Done to Me, and he was just sitting there and going, that's what I want to write to. But it took a couple of hours to get there. He was not overly demonstrative with his feelings, but what an artist.
You know what's interesting? I was mentioning to you before we did the interview. I remember Skylark. I remember that song, and going down memory lane. And you can watch anything on YouTube now. And I was telling you, I watched Midnight Special.
Yeah.
That song. I mean, what is it about a song that transcends? What do you think was about that first big giant hit that you were associated with, that it can go on for decades?
Well, of course, that lyric is spectacular, written by my friend Dave Richardson, who was a policeman at the time, and was writing it about his wife, his then wife. The lyric is spectacular, the melody is spectacular, and right from that first boom, 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 it's like it just grabs you. And that's a song that just everybody loves, and 42 years later, they're still loving it. I performed it last night in New York.
Oh my gosh.
And people loved it.
So, what is it? I mean, there's so many great performers out there. Somebody can come in front of you and like bang out a tune. What is that one thread that goes through all these artists that you've been associated with, where you can see, okay, this person has what it takes to be a star?
Well, you're assuming that I get it right every time, and
I'm right.
Because you talked about the yes, I've written maybe 100 hits, but I've had 900 misses too. So we don't talk about that. And yes, there's 16 Grammys, but there's 33 losses. And so, whether my cup may be half full of arsenic, I don't know. But what was your question again? Oh yeah, how do I know?
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I'm attracted to is great voices. So, when I see a Celine Dion, for instance, we're going back 25 years, I mean, it was so obvious to me that she was so incredible. It's like the whole room just stopped, and all I could hear and see was this one person, and all the noise around me just stopped. And I mean, you can't deny that voice. You can love her or hate her, but she has an amazing voice. And Whitney, I mean, not that I discovered Whitney, but I mean, when I first worked with her, it was like, she came into the studio like a racehorse. It's like, just killing it. Or that clip where we saw Charisse, this little Filipino girl that we found when she was about 14 years old. I mean, hitting those high Fs, and that's really hard to do. So I'm attracted to great voices. You can obviously have hit records without being a great singer, but that's just not where I lay. I lay with the great voices. They like me, and I like them.
I don't know if you've seen this film about John Cusack's in it. It's about Brian Wilson's life.
Oh, I've heard about it, yeah.
But he's in the studio, and he's creating pet sounds, which, everybody says now is genius. Mm-hmm. At the time, though, everybody's like, what are you doing? Is there something that comes into your head where you're putting something together where maybe everyone doesn't get it, and then when it comes out, it's a finished product, they go, oh, wow?
Well, I certainly remember going into a vault in Glendale, and it was just like out of the movies. This guy pulls this tape out and he goes, "Yeah, here it is," like kind of blowing dust off of it. Take it back to my studio, and that's where I put together Nat King Cole and his daughter Natalie. And that, when we put up that fader and heard Nat King Cole's voice, recorded like it sounded like it was recorded yesterday, and then when I was able to put the two voices together and make that work without the technology that we have today, by the way, because that was 20 years ago. I thought that was a pretty special moment. And I didn't know that it was going to reach millions and millions of people. I just knew we had done something great.
And to create that bridge from that time to this time is just amazing. What was she thinking during that whole process?
Well, it was her idea, actually. And but what she loved was that, yes, he sang, then she sang, then they sang together, and then she answered him, and that was all cool. But the really cool part, I think, when I came up with the idea, and I don't even know how I did it now with 3 tape machines or whatever, of getting him to answer her as though he was singing over her shoulder and was still with her. So she goes, "Unforgettable," and he goes, "Unforgettable," behind her. That was technologically a big challenge, but we pulled it off.
Unforgettable. In every way. In every way. And forevermore. And forevermore. That's how you'll stay. That's how you'll stay.
In fact, you're not just doing fine here, you're doing fine in Asia, as we all know. Talk to me about how that happened and describe for our audience what's going on there.
Well, here's the thing about Asia. You know, they love music in a different way than the rest of the world. They think that the people like me that make the music and write the music and produce the music are as important as the people that sing it. So what are you going to do if that's the case? Are you going to tour in America? Or are you going to tour in Asia where they think you're as great as Ariana Grande or as Andrea Bocelli? You know, they don't make a distinction between Andrea Bocelli and myself because I'm the one that writes his music and produces him. So that's given me quite a career over there. And they just love music. And they can sing every word to every song in every country. I mean, they're just musos. They're all musos.
Do you mix it up? I mean, who do you tour with when you get there?
There's an endless list of people that I can take with me that, because for the artists, it's great. You want to do a David Foster and Friends tour. Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, we're going to go to about 8 countries. We're going to do about 8 concerts. You're going to get paid very well, and you have to do 3 songs. Who the hell wouldn't want to do that? So Michael Bolton or Peter Cetera or Shaka Khan or Boyz II Men, who I was just with over there, or whatever, they're going like, so wait a minute, I can pretty much make the same amount of money as I do when we have to do like 21 songs and I only have to do 3 songs. I'm in.
Yeah, but where do I sign?
Exactly.
I'm on the next flight out.
And they love it. And also, the camaraderie is great too because they're, you know, you get in a bubble when you're touring. And so, you know, they're all in a bubble. Peter Cetera, when he tours, he's in a bubble. But now he has all these other comrades that he can hang out with, and they're having a great time backstage. Well, I'm the only guy that has to work all night, but that's okay. I don't mind.
You'd like to be the fly on the wall, though, listening to the conversations. I imagine they're swapping stories, right?
Can you imagine? Look what Foster's doing now, this idiot.
So, out of all the places you've gone, any that stand out as your favorites? Because you've traveled everywhere.
I can't pick a favorite. I mean, I would say, well, the audiences in Jakarta are the best, but then I think, no, Manila is phenomenal. Bangkok's phenomenal. I mean, they're all incredible. Shanghai, I mean, Shanghai was a little bit stiff, but the city is so incredible. And I think that China as a whole is just starting to get it, and I think it's going to loosen up a lot for a lot of performers, not just for me. And I want a piece of that. I want to tour China more. I really do.
Well, you're talking to a lot of people watching there, so
yeah.
You can
I mean, come on, it's the most fascinating place in the world. I mean, you have 5,000-year-old culture. What do we have here? We have like 200-year-old culture, you know?
Like we're children.
Yeah, we're not even.
Toddlers.
We're not even born. So you mix that culture with this young generation that's just burning to bust out and show you what they got. And I also believe that there will be a huge superstar come from Asia.
Well, and you'll probably spot them because I know
Well,
you're
I
a
don't
judge
know
on
about
Asia's
that, but
Got Talent.
yeah.
What's that experience been like?
The Asia's Got Talent thing was great. I had 3 incredible co-judges. Vanessa Wu, who's born in California but is Chinese and lives in Taiwan. Mel C from the Spice Girls. Anggun, who's from Indonesia. And all great performers, all great singers. And I had to be the bad guy, you know? I had to be the guy that went, no, you can't sing. Go away.
So you do all of this, and you're a pretty busy guy, but you still have time for the David Foster Foundation. So tell me about how
thanks for
that
asking.
came about and why it's so important to you.
Well, thank you for asking about that because it is a passion of mine, and there's no bad causes. Everybody has a cause. And, you know, thank God the world is full of people that want to help. You know, I was involved personally 28 years ago. My mother asked me to go visit a sick child at UCLA who was from my hometown of Victoria, British Columbia, and so I went and visited her, and all she wanted to do was see her sister. She was getting a liver transplant. And so I flew her sister down, which cost nothing at that time, 28 years ago. And the look on the face of those two when they met, like, just hooked me. And I knew I was in. And so we've helped over 1,000 families now with all the expenses, not the actual operation, but all the ancillary expenses that they have to go through for weeks, months, sometimes years. And I don't know if you've ever gotten a letter like this, but when you get a letter that says, "Dear Mr. Foster, thank you for saving my life." That is something that no Grammy can trump. Nothing can trump that. So, you know, the saying about you get back more than you give is certainly true, you know, and I love it, and it's a passion, and it consumes probably 25% of my time. You know, I lean on all my friends. I have no shame when it comes to my foundation. And this year we're probably going to raise $15 to $20 million.
Well, you can't trump that, and you can't come up with a question that can top that answer. So I'm going to leave it there. David, thanks so much. It's been great
Thanks,
fun.
Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And when you said Trump, what did you mean?
No, I didn't mean that, Trump. Good.